Hey guys! So first of all, I hope that all of you who are in finals and juries and all that jazz are doing okay, and I hope you guys do super well. I know it's a really rough time of year, and just get through it. We're really close to the end of the semester. um, so I thought today we would talk about excerpts. Excerpts are basically everyone has to do them. Probably piano players don't, and singers are a different story, but every instrumentalist really has to do excerpts. They're part of our rep, they're part of what you learn to do, and they're kind of weird because you're taking things out of the orchestral context and playing them solo for like a minute. And that's how you get jobs. So, I'm the first to acknowledge that this is a weird system, but it's also a system that makes some sense because you have to be able to convey different styles and different technical skills within a very short period of time, and if you can't do that, then chances are you can't play in an orchestra. So, I also get it. That being said, there are a lot of things that you can do to make excerpts easier or to be more successful in your excerpts, and I thought we'd talk about that a little bit today. So right now I'm in a repertoire class and it's all excerpts. We play one to three excerpts a week and get critiqued and everything like that. And it's been a really great experience because it's been whirlwind of excerpts, some of which I've never played before and had to learn in under a week or so. And also it's just experience playing them and experience trying to get good excerpts down on the first take. So the first thing I have to say is play them. Play mock auditions. Play for your friends. Like, actually experience the nerves that you get during an audition. Um, every single person in this class has gotten better at playing in front of other people because we have to play in front of other people every week. So take that as a sign that it's good to experience these things before your auditions. And one of the things that our professor said last week, which we all thought was really amusing, but it's very true, is if you go in without a plan, you're doomed. If you go in with a plan and don't stick to it, you're doomed. If you go in with a plan and stick to it, you're probably still doomed, but at least then you have a chance. So that's a very pessimistic way of saying if you don't have a plan and you don't stick to it, there is no way you can succeed. You need a plan. You need to know these pieces and you need to know what you want to do with them. And knowing a piece is more than just knowing the notes and the rhythms and the tempo. It's knowing the context, it's knowing the story behind it, it's knowing who you're playing with, it's knowing some of the chordal structure. You have to go into the scores, you have to listen to recordings, you have to know these pieces backwards and forwards. And certain pieces are easier to have that kind of information. For example, this week we were doing Daphnis, so the solo is a little bit more thinly scored than the rest of the piece would be. So there's limited things that you have to know about the solo itself, but it's also from a ballet. So what's happening in the ballet? What is the plot of the whole ballet? Who are you representing? What's the deal? If you're doing something like Mendelssohn's Scherzo, you still have to know these kinds of things. If you're doing Brahms 4, like all of these solos have other people playing with you, and you have to know that, and you have to know what they're doing and how you fit in, and also whether you are actually the important line. So for something like the Carmen excerpt, the first two phrases are very much you, and then the clarinet comes in and plays the melody, and you're a counter melody. So you have to be aware of that, and you have to play like you're aware of that. You have to show through your playing that you know what this piece is about, you know what this composer is about, and you know what this style is about. And that takes study, that takes research, and that takes time. The first time you play these excerpts is not going to be the way you play it 20 years later. Sorry, my phone is going off. but you still have to do it. And a lot of it is practice, so play them. Again, play them. um, and the other big thing that we've talked about in this class is ask yourself, am I doing something that someone in the orchestra couldn't follow? Am I doing anything that's going to make the orchestra not know what I'm doing? Are you messing up a rhythm? Are you playing something at a weird dynamic? Are you playing something too quiet? Are you playing something too loud? Everything like that. Obviously, solo dynamics are different than 2D dynamics, but you still have to be within the dynamics that are marked. And you still have to play the right rhythms, and you still have to play the right tempo, and you still have to keep a consistent tempo. And one of the reasons that excerpts are so hard is because you don't have a conductor and you don't have the rest of the orchestra, so you can't rely on them for your tempo and for your consistency. You have to rely on yourself. And that means metronome work, and a lot of it. And testing yourself constantly, and bringing the metronome back even when you think you have it in tempo, bring it back and test it. Because chances are you've probably slowed down. Or sped up. Either way. But chances are your tempo's probably changed, and chances are you're probably messing up a rhythm or two. And the only way you can tell that is by actually recording yourself and listening back and seeing what you're doing, and then fixing it. One of the major issues that basically everyone in our class has is rhythm issues and not counting rests properly. And all of us are guilty of this, and it's not something to be ashamed of, it's something to work on. Because if you're playing an audition, a live audition, like a proper professional audition, there's probably going to be someone behind the screen just sitting there tapping in whatever tempo you've started. And if you don't stick with it, you're done. And if you play a wrong rhythm, you're done. Because they need someone who's going to be consistent. A wrong note here or there, obviously you don't want to play the whole thing wrong, but one or two, they're going to let that slide because you're playing however many excerpts you are. But rhythms, like really messed up rhythms and really messed up tempos, that's going to be the end of you. And along with tempo, not only a consistent tempo, but the right tempo. If the part is marked with a tempo, chances are you're supposed to take it. Firebird, and there's a few other pieces that are an exception to that. Firebird is usually taken slower. Mendelssohn Scherzo is usually, you're at the whim of whatever clarinetist is playing it. So it tends to be slower than the flutist can play it. But that's also something to know, is clarinetists have to single tongue all of that, whereas we can double tongue. So Mendelssohn Scherzo has to be a little bit slower than you might like it to be, especially with the breathing. But you still have to follow what the part says, unless it's traditionally not followed. But like, people tend to play the Carmen excerpt too slow. I am guilty of this. It's marked at 88. That might be a little fast, but you still have to play it closer to that. It can't be in the it shouldn't be in the 70s, is basically where that is. So listen to recordings, hear what they're traditionally taken at, and do it. And practice them until you can play them at that tempo, or whether it's a slow tempo or a fast tempo. And yes, auditions are scary, and yes, auditions are slightly different from how you would play them in the orchestra, but it's how we get jobs, and it's how the music world is working right now. So excerpts are really important, and learning how to do them for an audition is really important. I hope this helps. As always, if you guys have video ideas, let me know. Little bit of self-promotion. If any of you guys are interested in having Skype lessons, that is something I do, especially since over winter break a lot of you guys aren't going to have your regular lessons. If you want to have a lesson or two with me and just get a different view and have some more instruction, I am always willing to do that, and let me know if that's something that interests you. I hope you guys have a great week, and again, I hope you guys are all surviving your finals, and I will see you next week.